Hello everyone, and welcome to another video where I show you some photos by other photographers and I share with you my ideas and my thoughts about those photos and some tips that I learned from those photos. Now today is about the photography of David Yarrow. David Yarrow is a British photographer, it's a fine art photographer, and he's primarily doing wildlife, but he's doing wildlife in another way that you would expect when you hear this word wildlife photography. He and Nick Brand are the photographers that do wildlife in a different way. Even between these two, the way they photograph is different, but these are the two wildlife photographers that I like. So even though I'm a landscape photographer, I will share with you some of my ideas and insights about David Yarrow's photography and why I think some of his photos are really interesting, and also how you can apply some of the things that he's doing in wildlife photography to landscape photography. So let's get started. So let's begin talking about some of the photos by David Yarrow. All these photos are directly from his website davidyarrow.photography, and I will start with this pattern of zebras. And even though it's about animals, you can also apply this to landscape photography. So whenever you see a pattern, try to photograph it. But what I really like in this particular pattern, it's how the spine of the animal is creating the sensation that you are looking at some kind of hills. So in a way, I think this is a landscape photography in an abstract mode, because he's using elements that are not directly related to landscape photography. We are talking about animals over here, but the way the pattern works and the black line of the spine, I think, creates a really interesting feeling that you are looking at the landscape and not the back of an animal. So once again, whenever you find patterns in nature, just try to capture it. Another really great photo that I think looks very well, it's this photo of a bagheera, and the way David Yarrow captures this animal is in complete contrast. You can achieve this, especially if you are doing black and white. You can achieve this by altering the color channel that corresponds to the grass or to the vegetation, and you can brighten that up to increase the contrast. But the thing that makes this photo stand is the really high contrast between the animal and the surrounding landscape. Now let's move to this other photo with elephants. Many of his photos, of his wildlife photos, are done from station points that may look impossible to the person that doesn't know how he does these photos. And basically he has his camera placed in a camera holder, and he remote trigger the camera. He's not exactly there because he if you are here in a moment like this, or other photos that you're gonna see with other more dangerous animals, then that would probably be his last photo. So he's remote triggering the camera, but the angle that he's getting and the way he's presenting these animals it's unique and creates an intimate feel. And for example, in this photo I have only one word. If I would have to describe this photo using one word, that would be epic, because you see these majestic animals that you know from your own experience that are pretty big. You see them right from the ground level, and that greatness of these animals, it's further emphasized. The clouds in the background help separate the subject. If you would try to do this and not having clouds in the background, you will not get such a good separation between these animals and the sky, especially if you're shooting black and white. So try to find in your landscape photography, if you want to apply the same concept to your landscape photography, try and sit low. Basically try and sit low and express in your photo the epicness of the surrounding landscape. Now this next photo of a lion shows again this remote triggering technique, and being in front of this really great animal and a really powerful animal, because I remember I was at the zoo, I was watching a lion, and the lion came roaring at me, and I took 1 or 2 steps back, even though between me and that lion were 2 rows of fences, of iron fences. That is how powerful this animal is, and how his entire persona influences the other animals or people around it. So again, having a really low angle really helps to emphasize the power of this animal. And this entire photo, it's about power. It's about how powerful this animal is. The dust in the lower part of the photo looks really great and tells a story that this animal is coming in, running towards the camera. The position of the camera, it's really great, and because it's triggered remotely, I think it's a great achievement to have such a perfect frame, because you have the grass on the left and the grass on the right, kind of framing the main subject. And I don't know if it's that easy to do with a remote triggering camera. So in your landscape photography, try and capture elements that are powerful, that really impresses you to your core. And for example, for me, I try to capture the power of high wind. Whenever I see high wind and storm approaches, I get into the forest, because I really like capturing those unique moments when I know for sure that no one is in the forest and everyone is taking shelter. Of course, taking into consideration that during storms it may be dangerous to walk around with tripods. Another frame with these 2 birds in Hokkaido in Japan, it tells a story about simplicity. It's a delicate dance, and it's almost like it reminds of a Japanese painting. Is that simple. In this series I've talked previously by presenting the work of Michael Kenna about how simple your landscape photos can be, and the same tip resides from this photo also, that sometimes simple compositions can tell a better story and can have a much more deeper impact. Now again, it's an elephant, but what I wanted to emphasize from this photo are a couple of things. First of all, high contrast. You see these animals in high contrast, and that presents better, for example, the texture and the pattern of the skin, and gives you a feeling of strength. It works better when you are converting your photo to black and white. Sometimes when you're dealing with color photography, high contrast and high saturation are not the way to go, at least not for me. Another thing would be that you can see 3 animals in this photo, and it almost, I don't know if it may sound strange, but it looks just like a rock band. The lead singer is in the front, then comes the guitar player, and in the back the drummer. It's the perfect photo. It's the perfect framing from what I can say. And as a tip, if you have similar elements in your photo, try to have let's say 1, 3, 5, 7 elements, so it looks better. I don't know why, but it looks better having these kind of numbers in your photos. Try to tell a story, and this photo of a lion is telling a story about another element that it's present in this photo, but it's not visible to the naked eye. Only its consequence it's visible, and that is wind. The fact that this lion has some wind, or at least this is how I see this image. Maybe it's not windy at all, and this is just my simple impression, but my impression is that wind is going through the hair of the lion. And whenever you have the chance of capturing the consequence, the action of some elements that are invisible to the eye on Mother Nature, do it, because it will look so great, and it will say a different story, a much complete story. It will add another layer to your photo. And now the last image of the day is this, about this lion. I don't know if the lion is attacking or is just jumping, but it's not really important. I really like, first of all, enjoying the photo as I see it. Not always I'm trying to watch the background of the image and the story of the image before I look at the image, because I really like to interpret the image through my own eyes and through my own perception, and to kind of see it as I see it. I don't want to be influenced by hearing the story. Of course, there are some photos that really deserve the background story because you want to know the context. In this photo, David Yarrow captured the perfect moment when this lion was jumping, and this is something that we should all learn to do in landscape photography, but it comes with patience. If you have patience enough to stay in a place right until the last drop of light, if I can say drop, is going away, then you may capture some interesting things. Being there at the right moment doesn't necessarily mean being lucky. Being there at the right moment, for me at least, means a lot of work and a lot of patience to be in a place, even though in some moments nature shows you that there is no reason for you to be there. And I had numerous situations when I was there, even though there were clouds in the sky, and I stayed there and I stayed there, and just at the last moment some of the cloud went away and a ray of light shined down on the landscape. So this was it for today, and I hope you really liked this short presentation of David Yarrow's photography. I hope that you learned something from it and that you find this entire series interesting. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel for more similar videos and other videos about landscape photography. And also don't forget to click the bell notification icon to know exactly when I do a new upload. And if you are already subscribed, thanks for watching, thanks for commenting, for supporting my work. And until next time, keep on photographing. It's the only way you can get better. Bye bye.